Dr. Jazz. Dr.
But Philip, I'll jump in.
Okay.
That's why we're gonna make it on English so that
Yes. Yeah. All
everyone
right.
understands. But you know, like I told you, I've been following your music since I bought that album with Kenny Wheeler, which is quite a long time ago, like I guess early 2000s. And
Yeah. I think it came out in like 2002 or
yeah,
2003 or something. Yeah.
and you've been so active since then. I mean, really a lot of music, and you have your own label. And I want to start this talk with Moon Balloon, which is
Yeah.
a beautiful album you made with an orchestra. And
Thank you. Yeah.
like a jazz guitarist doesn't get not many opportunities to do an album with an orchestra. I mean, it's how did that happen? What's the story behind that one?
And I think it was I think the main idea was really that the guy who arranged the whole the string orchestra he's a very good friend of mine, Peter Hintertür. He's from Hamburg, and actually we started out on a jazz course here very close to Düsseldorf in Remscheid. I think it was maybe 1990 or something. That's where we first met. He is a bass player. And since then, we always kept contact. His way, he went a little bit more into the pop direction. He had a band that was called Cultured Pearls that was quite active and well known, I think, at least in Germany. And after that band split up, he went more and more into arranging for large ensemble and orchestras, and we always kept contact and said like we have to do something again. We would love to work together again. And I think, you know, when the pandemic happened, you know, there was just some more time, and we were calling each other, and you know, how's everything going, and then you said, okay, let's try this, and then let's do this, and you know, since there were some I had the luck that the Musikinitiative, you know, that they were offering some money, some funds that you could get. And I was never really good with this, you know. I always did like stuff on my own, and I never really I wasn't really good with filling out all those formals, and you know. But then, you know, there was a little bit of time, so I got a little bit of help how to do it, and it worked. And then they said, okay, we you know, so this together with Peter, this whole idea came across, and he said, and he had a very good contact to the film orchestra Babelsberg in Potsdam, and because he's worked with them, I think 3-4 times before. And he said also, okay, at this time now they're not as busy as they usually are, because they're also sometimes they're touring and everything. But since the pandemic was there, they had a little bit more time, and I think there was one spot where they could sneak me in, and so this whole thing started, and it was really, you know, when I was in studying in Boston, I was very much interested in composition and arranging, and took all the arranging classes and everything. So I think I would be capable of arranging it for myself, so the tunes. But there is something, especially also since we recorded some of the tunes that I already recorded before in a duo, trio setting. Also, I thought it would be nice just to have a completely different color that doesn't come from me. And then Peter, he sent me his like just a 1-minute arrangement of a tune that I did. And I was like, oh shit, this is completely different. I would never do it like this. But this was really the interesting part. But I loved it. I said, this is good. I love it. And I pretty much, I think the whole production, there were like maybe 1 or 2 things that we changed a little bit. But other than that, I just let him do his thing. And so he arranged this session with me with the film orchestra Babelsberg. I think it was in May 2022, I think it was, yeah. and thank God he was there also, because he, he really knew also. I just
parts,
just know also just the expressions, whether do tenuto here and the things like this, and I was like, oh, I was just happy to sit there and be in this orchestra and be surrounded by this warm sound and be able to play with him, and Jörg-Achim Keller, he conducted the whole thing, which is great because he comes from a jazz background. I think he's conducting like HR big band sometimes, or WDR big band. So he was he was a big help, because just to get everything also timing wise right. I mean, we recorded a lot of stuff with Click, which was helpful for me. And especially this orchestra is they're so used
time wise,
they're really correct and good in time. But still, there were some tunes, that were a little bit more legato. And if they go like this, I mean, this is for me, this is one, but for them, it's like, it's a little later, and that's the bad part is, because when you're as a jazz musician, when you're too early, that's the uncoolest thing that can happen. so I really had to, I had to adjust a little bit to that situation, and then. But it was so much fun. I mean, just like, even if it would have been someone else's music, just to sit in this
sound
corpus, it was just great. But then if it's your own music, it was just it was very touching. At least like 2-3 times where I was like, okay.
It's nice to hear that. Strings are so good.
I actually had the opportunity last year to perform this live in Düsseldorf at the Tonhalle, which is like a big concert hall. This is like the classical concert hall, and we performed it with the Düsseldorf Symphonic Orchestra. It was beautiful, and now also we did 2 concerts just with a string quintet, and and also that worked. I was amazed. I thought it would be more like small chamber music kind of, and it is smaller, but it's still it's a full sound, and something really, really cool and touching and very nice about performing with strings. It's really a great experience. I'm very thankful for that this happened.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful. I had a chance years ago to do a project with a string orchestra also, and with a drummer also in that, and it was so beautiful just to hear those lines, like
And I think if you have a drummer, because I did this also twice before, and there was a drummer involved, and this helps a lot timing wise. But since this was just me and the orchestra, all with my cartouche trio with Christian Kappe on flugelhorn and Andre Nanzer on bass. I mean, Andre has a strong time, and that helped me, and it was great. I was thankful that he was close to me when we performed that live. But with a drummer, you have so much more, timing there. And that's so it's a very intimate setting in a way, and then very fragile also in a way, but which is great too.
Oh, I love that. It's always like, ooh, are we gonna make it or not? But that's a good moment. When I think of guitar and strings, I don't know. I know Wes did a couple of things also, and with strings, and some other jazz guitarists. Like, who was an influence for you when you started? Or like, I'll put it like that. Why did you start playing jazz? Actually, jazz guitar. Or did you have like an aha moment that you heard somewhere, or a record? Or...
Yeah, it was. I'm a child of the '80s, so it was like I came a little bit from. There was some bands around that time that had some, more pop soul bands but they had jazz influence, like, for example, the Style Council from Paul Weller, or Working Week. There were also some, even bands like Matt Bianco, that like some bossa nova stuff, happening. So there was a little bit influence from that, and then from there, I think I went a little bit more into funk stuff, and then from there, and then actually I had a great music teacher in school, and he literally came with kind of blue one day in the room and said, we were talking about jazz, and that would be for a couple of weeks. The main subject was jazz, So he came in with it, and that was really, I mean, that was a moment. You know, it was just so cool, and I was like, okay, what is it? I just completely love it. I have no idea what's going on, but it's just played so cool and it's so nice, and so that's definitely from the albums I would take on a lonely island. I think it would be kind of definitely genre. You know. So that was the moment, and from there I found more. You're like, okay, I said, okay, Miles Davis. Okay, I checked some of those albums, and from there Charlie Parker, Dizzy, Coltrane, everything, you know, and then it just went like this. And
the usual,
yeah.
What about guitar? Like guitarists?
Let me see. It was actually my wife. She introduced me. I mean, we were together when we were 16. She introduced me to Pat Messini. She had a record from Pat Messini. And I was like, okay, because I was already like playing a little bit, and then had a school band and everything. And I was like, oh, this is interesting, and I think it was Off Ramp.
Oh yeah.
It was with James on it, and we just it's like well, okay. So that was another moment, I guess. Yeah, there, and then from there, when I did the workshops, and and I mean, definitely, hearing wise, and Messini, Abercrombie, Schofield, Mike Stern at that time. Scott Henderson. I really liked the interview that you did with Scott. I mean, I don't know him.
Fun, man. Yeah.
But I heard him a couple of times, even when I was in Boston, and always loved his stuff. I think I saw him the first time when he played in Amsterdam, playing with the Joe Zawinul Syndicate at that time, and I didn't know him before, and I was like, oh shit!
He's so good, man. Yeah,
that's great. It was good. Really good. So when I saw that you did an interview, I heard the whole interview. I loved it.
Great. Oh yeah. I love Scott, man. It's like. I wish he did more jazzy stuff, to be honest, like, because he can play that stuff so good.
Yeah.
He's more in the bluesy kind of now phase, but I wish he would do still some more jazzy oriented. Philipp, you mentioned Boston, Berkeley before. How did you end up there? And going from Dusseldorf to Boston, especially the music scene there and all the musicians. How was that like for you?
It was always a dream, because I heard about it, and then some of my heroes like John Scofield and all those guys, they all came from there, and then Brentford Marsalis, and I was like, oh, this would be so cool to do this. And at that time it was in a way it was affordable to do. I mean, it was I think I went there in '91. And I think my first semester, I think the tuition was $2,000.
Oh, wow.
Which is a lot of money, but it is manageable in a way, to do this. And I think then from my third semester on, I had a scholarship, so I could I really stayed 4 years. I was like for 8 semesters. Usually I came in the summer. I came back to Germany and did some projects here, but always the spring and fall semester I did there, and was 8 semesters, and I was so lucky that I got from my good friend Alex Gunia. He's a guitar player. We started the record label Jazzic Records also together, and he was there before, and also the vibraphone player Matthias Haus, where I play a lot with him also, and then he was also there before. They both talked. The whole thing was just closer than because in the beginning I thought, okay, this is so far away. It's America. You will never get in there. And I thought, everything would be made out of marble, and only geniuses would walk around there. And I was like, but suddenly, then they told me about it, and I said, like, okay, it is tough to get in there. It is you have to work a lot. But I was willing to do it. But it was a little bit closer that it's possible to do this. And so, and at that time, everything was I think it was with letters, and then I had a letter of recommendation, and I sent a cassette to them, and then you, after 3-4 months, you would probably, if you're lucky, you get a fax or something that you accept. It's great. And but sometimes they, you know, at that time they would also send out letters, and they took like 6 weeks. It was great. And then and you know, there was, I think, like really my biggest influence up to today is really Brett Wilmot, the guitar player Brett Wilmot from Boston. He just retired from Berkeley, I think 3-4 years ago, and we got really close and a good friend. And he has, I think, like 3 very good books out, 2 about chords and 1 about polyrhythms. And I would say like at least 60% of how I play and how I compose and everything is somehow influenced by Brett. And it is, he's not like, he was never really the type of person who was like constantly on the road or something. He was, I think he really focused on his career in Berkeley and as a professor there. And we had this guitar ensemble that was called Brett's Frets. And there was like 6 guitars, 7 guitars plus rhythm section, and you know, there were great people. I think like in the beginning, even Bill Frisell and Mike Stern played in the ensemble. Kurt Rosenwinkel played there. Then Antonio Sanchez, who I studied with, he was in the ensemble, and Per Mattison on bass. And there were a lot of, like, over the years, there were so many cool people in there. And then we actually did 2 records. And
really,
I mean, like when you look at it on stage, you're scared because you see like 6 guitars, and you're like, oh, okay, this is, maybe I should hire it. But it's arranged in a very nice way, and then there's such a warm sound to it if it's well arranged, and then you know, if everybody is, you know, if nobody is overdoing it. So he's definitely, I mean, like when you were talking about influences, he's next to all the heroes that I had, he's his
records actually.
Yeah, I mean, I think he never. I'm not really. If you look up Brett's Frets, you know, they're actually on my label, but we have one on the Jazzic Records label. It's called Sidestepping.
Well, I'll try to find it. Yeah.
And if you go on YouTube or on Spotify, you find it. It's very interesting, and I just love his way of playing. And he was actually a good friend of Pat Messini also. And when Pat was in Berkeley, he played in his band for a couple of gigs, and he was studying with him. And he definitely, you know, from the sound aesthetic comes from this Mick Goodrick, Abercrombie Messini
aesthetic, yeah. Yeah,
aesthetic, you know, but incredible, nice guy and a really good friend. And what I really like also about him is that he's the comping part, the chords, is so important to him, and the books that he put out are really, really great, especially about drop 2 voicings and all stuff, and what you can do. And when you played with him in a duet, you know, it's almost like you can do anything. He somehow makes you sound good because those voicings are just so beautiful there, you know. And
I noticed that with you also. Your comping, it's not so traditional in a sense.
Yeah.
That's where it comes from. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's so important to, because very often I think a lot of guitar players, you know, they either solo, do single lines, or they comp, but that you actually can combine. I mean, we have the luck that we have an harmony instrument, and it's so, it is harder than on the piano to do it, but there are good ways how to incorporate chords and stuff, and I think we should use this more. And I always love when I hear guitar player using chords, also even in their solos, you know, and stuff. And so Brett was on that side, was also a big influence on me. And then I had the luck to study also one semester with Steve Kahn.
Really?
He was an artist in residence in Berkeley at that time. And he introduced me onto those, you know, those modal voicings, so the force voice, McCoy stuff, and and which is great, which gives you also a lot of freedom to accompany someone or even to use it in your own solo, so I think that's a very important part, and then to also to comp for someone, and then to make another soloist hopefully sound good and be inspiring with your voicing. I think it's a very, very important part of playing, even if it's not so obvious. Soloing is obvious and it's great and should be good, but I think this is more like a secret hidden thing that you don't really realize so much, but or you realize it, but it's not so obvious, but I think that's a real art to be a good to be comping, be good.
Yeah. It's like Jim Hall, on the bridge with Sonny.
Yeah.
How he does that, with intervals, and it's just so beautiful. Just less is more.
I saw him. He was performing in Boston when I was studying there. He did like a matinee in the morning. Three was Herb Pomeroy on flugelhorn, Jim Hall, and then a bass player from the Boston area. And that was another magic moment that I was able to witness. That was really cool.
I wanted to ask you. You mentioned Jazz Sick Records. Your own label, and a couple of times now. How did you decide to do that also? What's the story behind there? And it's been really prolific, actually, working a lot. And
it's I mean, when I came back from Berkeley, we released, especially with Alex Cunha, which was a guitar player that I mentioned before. I did a couple of records, and they were, at that time, they were okay, and most of them were also well promoted. But we did one record and with a label here from Germany, and it didn't work at all. You know how much time and effort and energy you always put in every project and every record, and if you trust the other side that to at least the promotion, everything is done well, then and if that doesn't work, it's just awful, and because then the record is out, you cannot re-release it. It's just it's gone. And that happened with one of our recordings, and then unfortunately, and at that time we said, okay, we don't really want this to happen again, and this isn't there a way how we can build our own label and do this. And this was, I think, in the end of it was like 1999 or 2000 around, and at that time there was a distribution company. They were really interested in our stuff, and they said, okay, if you have at least 3-4 products that you put out, and then in this next year you would have a small mini catalog, and then we can build from there. And we actually, at that time, I had 2 productions that we were about to do, and Alex Cunha also. So we released 4 albums in that first year, and it was really just for us, because we just wanted to have a platform where we can release our stuff in a very good way, and have the power over how to promote it, and how everything's working out with it, and then since then it's been just a great platform for us to do this, and so many friends and colleagues came and they said, we would like to join you, and we have to watch out a little bit, because now Alex Cunha, after a while, he went to Norway, and he kind of separated from the record label. There was no no personal reason or something. It was just they couldn't find the time anymore to put the energy in there. And at that time, my bass buddy Andre Nenzer took his place, and he's running it with me now since a couple of years, and the only thing is we have to watch out a little bit that we don't put too much out. Like, for it's because we're he's on the road, I'm on the road, and it's just not enough time. There's no one every day here to answer questions.
Yeah.
So it's not like a I think the label now we have almost 200 products out there. And
that's a lot, man.
But it looks bigger than it is. Basically, it comes down to 2-3 people that are running it, and sometimes I mean the people know us now, but sometimes it just takes 1, 2, 3 days until we answer because it's So, but I think it's it's now we have a new distribution since like 6-7 years with a membran media, and the digital stuff is done by the Orchard, and that works really nice. And I think I mean, it would be a dream if someday maybe ACT or ECM or something, if it would be possible to release something there. But if this is not happening, I think Jessic is my best way to put things out, because over the years I think we established all the from promotion to distribution to everything, so it works well, so it's available and people get to know about it. So that's unless there's not a really bigger company involved, I think we stay with our Jessic family.
Yeah, no, it's the industry changed anyway. Since the last 10 years, or even when I started, I did a couple of records on Fresh Sound, and back then actually they paid for the studio in New York and for the musician fees, and I got CDs. When it went down, you just got CDs, and they didn't pay for the studio anymore. Now it's like with these labels, you have to buy actually CDs, and then I think that's why many of us, including myself and we have our own labels, just because.
If it comes to that point, you might as well just do it on your own and have full power over it. I think the only thing that you really need is like for the physical distribution, like to have a distribution company so that it's at least available somewhere.
Yeah.
And I mean the digital stuff. There are so many platforms how you can do this now. But yeah, definitely that changed a lot. But as you said, it's so funny because when I'm thinking back about Moon Balloon, because of the font that I got from the Musikinitiative, I mean, it's so crazy because this is probably the biggest project that I ever did. And it's the first project where I could pay everybody good and didn't have to pay on top. It's very weird. Usually,
I know what you mean.
You do a duo or trio album, but not with an orchestra.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, but that's how it is. At least we can do the music we like, so that's
true. Yeah. So that's I mean, to come to your point, I think that's the main thing, that we were just wanted to be able to do our own thing and to have to know what's happening with it. That and if someone fucks up, it's at least our own fault.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, true. How did that record with Kenny happen, with Kenny Wheeler?
Yeah.
I mean, I love the composition. I want to ask you also about your compositions later, but how did you hook up with Kenny? I mean, what's the story there?
At that point, I think it was in the beginning of the 2000, like 2001 or 2002. He was playing. He was performing. It was also with an orchestra, I think, and I had the chance to meet him and to talk to him, and then but this was just to get to know him, because I always loved his stuff, and he's also one of my heroes. The new High album or some of the other albums is just they're just so up there, and also my friend Andre. I think for both of us, the music of Kenny Wheeler means so much, and we thought, okay, why not give it a shot? Why don't we just ask him, if he's, because we were just about to record our first album with the trio, and we kind of saw that he is available for other projects, and so I got the number from his agency, and they told me actually, then yeah, please send him the music, and at that time I think he lived for a long time, I think, in London, close to London, and so I sent him the CD, sent him the note and the tunes that I was thinking of, which is a little weird because they're like guitar tunes. So, some of and some have some like open tunes, like more like E and A, which is not really great for trumpet play. But he liked the music. So I think he was also used to it because he's been playing with a couple of guitar players.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so actually, yeah, we set up a recording date in Cologne at a studio in Cologne, at Topaz Studio, and we recorded a whole day with him. It was beautiful, and actually it was so nice that he agreed to do a couple of concerts later.
Really?
So when the record came out, we did 3 concerts. We did one in Neuss, which is very close to here, and then one here at the Jazz Schmiede in Düsseldorf, and one at a festival in Saarbrücken. So we had 3 gigs in a row with him, and that was great. He was such a very, very friendly person, and such a great player. I mean, also this area, or this generation it's so funny, like how they not funny. It was just so interesting how they when we rehearsed with them, how they approach the music. And I had this a little bit, my mentor Lajos Dudas, the Hungarian clarinet player. I played it's now over almost 30 years with him. Now he was like my really first gig and mentor when I came from Berkeley, and it's similar generation, and it's just so interesting how they approach the music, how they rehearse, and then to learn from them, and then to. At that time, especially when I started with Lajos, I just came out of Berkeley, and I thought, like, okay, I have to show my chops, and even, he's like the guy who said, okay, this is a ballad, we can play it as a ballad, I know that you can play, and so, yeah, but it's very, I think at that point, it's very important to have people like this on your side, and then just to calm down a little bit, and then to really serve the music and not your ego.
Yeah, that's so important.
And so that was with Kenny Wheeler. That was really, I mean, it was really special because he was such a hero of ours. And now there was one thing at that point, I don't know why, but when we did the mixing, there were at least on 1-2 tracks, I was not. I think the sound how we mixed Kenny was a little bit too sharp. It was a little bit too sharp for the soft sound that you actually get from the flugelhorn.
Yeah.
And so now, like a year ago, an engineer approached me whether I still have those tapes, and I think we did it on Logic, and we actually found it at the Topaz Studio in Cologne. They had a library from every sessions that they did.
Wow.
And so we remixed and remastered it now, I'm not really sure. Don't have a date yet, but I'm pretty sure in the next 2-3 months I'm gonna put it out at least digitally, and the 4 tunes that we recorded with Kenny, and maybe 1 or 2 bonus tracks. So it's going to be like a little EP, Philipp Van Endert trio remixed and remastered, featuring Kenny Wheeler and Rob Hall. He was the 6 players also on there, so that's I'm gonna send you a link when it's
please, man,
out.
Please, yeah.
Because I'm so much that was really something that it was a little bit quick, just then you have the chance to play with your hero, and then after like a couple of 2-3 years, when I listened back to it, I said, okay, it's nice and it's great, but there's something about the sound that we didn't really catch the sound of Kenny the way it was, and so that was really nice to redo it now, and I think now it's the way I still love that album. It was so important for me to do this, and then it's not like that it sounds bad, but it's just
sounds like
the hinge, not the way it was when I remember playing with him live and in the studio. So I'm happy that we could fix this now.
Beautiful. Yeah, I mean, it's a really nice record. So fantastic that
Yeah.
that you got to play with him. I mean, you know, it's like he's, yeah, like you said,
Yeah.
one of the greats. Was the story with Rick the same with Margitza? Like
Yeah, he was. Let me see. Because yeah, because we heard that he at that time we heard that he moved to Paris,
Paris, yeah, yeah.
and that it's not so because of the it's Paris is not so far away. That's a little easier to get. So that is pretty much the same story. We invited him first for the second album, and there I did some arrangements for horn. So I had Rick Margitza and then Adrian Mears on trombone,
Oh, yeah.
and Stefan Meinberg on trumpet, and so we had also one. It was the same studio, Topaz Studio, where we recorded that, and after that, and like after the session, he said like he would be in for playing some.
Oh,
And
beautiful.
actually, then he did the second record also, and then I'm pretty sure we did like at least 30, 40 concerts over the years together with him. And
Really? Oh, wow, man.
it was great. It was really a pleasure. We haven't played now for a while. I have to call him again, and it's just sometimes because now I have like other projects, and the trio is not playing anymore. This trio not so, and he was always part like a special guest of this trio, and so it just didn't work out in the last couple of years. But I would actually love to play with him. It's so inspiring to play.
Such an underrated player, yeah, Rick. I
Yeah.
mean, like quite under the radar all the time, but such a beautiful player, yeah. Yeah.
I think I heard him the first time from this like a Miles Davis bootleg,
Yeah, exactly.
like from a live concert, and where he plays. Because I think he toured with him for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And it's this very very his own sound and his own lines, but very on the one hand the tradition, but then on the other hand the lines are very modern and
Yeah.
always loved to be with him. It was really cool.
Yeah, it's nice. Yeah. I wanted to ask you about your writing. Like, how did you approach writing? I mean, you said you studied in Berkeley composition, and there are some beautiful tunes on the first one already. That Medicine Man and Dumbledore, and I don't know. I love that music. It's really nice music. And
Yeah.
what's your story when writing, even nowadays, or like how do you approach it?
I think a lot of my writing is really coming from the guitar. I can't even play. I have a keyboard here, but I can't really play it.
The same, yeah.
Right away, I get a cramp in my hand. Just the way to hold it. So I think a lot of it comes really from the guitar. I think what helps me a lot with when I compose is playing with the looper. Sometimes I come up with maybe a bass line is first, or maybe a melody is first, or just a chord progression. And then the nice thing is with the looper, you can just loop it and try different things out, and so a lot of this comes from there, and then I mean, I don't know how you. I'm not really like I don't write a lot. It's sometimes it just sometimes just ideas come out, and very often it's in a situation where I don't really have time to pursue them. But then I still do it, or I record it very quick just not to forget it, and so sometimes, and it's very weird. Sometimes I need for a tune, I'm not satisfied, and it takes me weeks to end it. And sometimes there's a tune, it's just like it's in 2-3 hours it's done, and it's very, very weird sometimes how this works, and it's true. I think when we talked about it before, being still being a music fan and listening to a lot of music, that you always get little ideas from like when you listen to other records, and then say, oh, this is great, this is a cool thing, maybe I can do this. Just take this little piece of idea and then go in a different direction and be inspired from this. I would never like to copy something or something, but it's just maybe it's just sometimes the groove or the way it's arranged, and I think going to concerts and listening to records is still so inspiring for me. I wish I could do it more often, like You know, when I was studying, I was almost every day I saw a concert somewhere. You know, and now it's you know, since we're busy, we don't really have the time too much to do it. And but always when I do it, I mean, especially going to the concert, it's most of the time it's very inspiring and great, and you get even like little composition ideas sometimes from
Oh yeah,
this.
definitely,
And
definitely, yeah.
you know, so that's all of this. Yeah, I wish I could do this better, because again, I know like my friend Andre Nenze, the bass player, he's really good with it. You know, sometimes he takes just like 2 weeks where he says, okay, I'm not gonna take any gigs in this 2 weeks. I'm just gonna be composing. And he said, you know, like, and then he ends up like with 2-3 tunes a day. And he said, okay, half of it I have to put in the dustbin again. It doesn't work, but the other half is good. And then I have at least 10 new tunes, you know. I wish I could be like this, but it just doesn't work for me. You know?
No, yeah, it's life in between, and it's, yeah.
Do you do it like more also on the guitar, or what is it?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, yes and no. I mean, yeah, I usually pop up with an idea and write it down like by hand, to sketch like 3 bars melody and put it in on a sheet, and then when there's a project, I mean, all of us is the same. When I know I'm gonna record something and I need tunes, then I pick up that pile of 4-bar ideas and I just say, like, okay, shit, this sounds promising, and then I just develop it and take the guitar and.
But it's more are you a good piano player?
Man,
No?
I know the basic minor, major chords, and I mean we have a piano at home, but no, it's far from being a piano player, you know. But no, it's on guitar mostly, or usually just imagining. Even if I don't have a guitar writing, I know how it sounds by imagining already.
Interesting, yeah.
But it's project related, I think, always, like, you know, knowing I need to write something.
I think that helps a lot, you know, also to have the people in mind that you're writing for, you know? Like when I play, like when I compose something for my trio with Andre and Christian Kopper on Flügelhorn, it doesn't have drums, it's just bass, guitar, and Flügelhorn, and so I compose differently for this. And then if I have it in mind, it's that helps actually the way how to compose the thing. Yeah.
Yeah, every player is different, right? I mean, if you have a different horn player, you already know what his strengths are, and I think it's good to use that. It's a good thing. Yeah. Philipp, what's still on the schedule for you for the upcoming months, weeks? Do you have some recordings, touring?
Yeah, I mean, I was just on tour with like that's when we.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
you know, I was on tour with Zoom. The band is now, I think, it exists now since 7-8 years.
Oh.
I think that was before the pandemic. Otherwise, we wouldn't have called it Zoom, because it doesn't make, you know, that was long before Zoom conferences were hip. But you know, at that time we already had a record out, and then it didn't make any sense to change the name again. And then Stefan Mattner, a great sax player from Cologne, he's writing and organizing all of this, and there's a young drummer, Jo Bayer. He's in the band, and Sebastian Räther on bass, and so it's a quartet, and we actually really managed to, with help of the Goethe Institute in Germany to realize 8 concerts in a row in France. So we toured whole France. We did like a short trip to Barcelona for one concert, but the other stuff was in France. We like Toulouse, Lyon, Marseille, Pau, twice Paris, and Pau. We played in. It was great. I mean, I don't know, you know, I've been on tour like, but never really like so constantly. It's more like 2 gigs, 3 gigs. You know, maybe when you're lucky 4 or 5 gigs, but I never really played 8 gigs in a row. And it's so great, like how the music evolves, and then you know, everything is getting so clear and beautiful. It was a great, beautiful people, great players, and we were all in a van the whole time, but we all had so much fun. It was great, and we're continuing that. I think so. Next year, I think in April or March, we're going to be doing a similar thing in Italy with this band.
Beautiful.
And maybe if we're lucky, in the end of next year, even India. I've never been to India, and I would love to see it.
That's interesting.
So that's actually great, and the nice thing about it, it's musically, it's very interesting for me because I play much more rock oriented. I'm not
Yeah, I
really,
heard you. Yeah, it's beautiful.
I have like a couple of like more distorted guitar solo sounds, and even in the arrangement, it's like this. And I haven't done this since the 90s, you know. I mean, like in the end of the 90s, like when the trio started, 2000 something, you know, I was going more. Not that I don't like distortion. I still love it, but it just didn't. The music that I played and that I composed didn't really go there. But I came from this fusion area, you know. It was at that time when I was in Boston that there was so many like more like fusion things, like Steps Ahead and other things. I saw Brecker a couple of times, the reunion band of the Brecker brothers, and so I always liked this energy also, you know, from it. So, but I haven't done it for a while, and now it's nice because this is now like more like an acoustic jazz open setting, but with a rock edge to it, and it's like I get to use my fuzz a little bit more.
Beautiful.
And so this is coming up, and I think that we're playing with them, and now on the weekend there's a nice meeting with Jacek Namysłowski, the son of you know the sax player Namysłowski from Poland. He died, I think, 1 or 2 years ago, and so we were celebrating the music of his and I think his father on that concert, and then I think the week after we're going to Warsaw to perform there also.
Fantastic.
And I think the week after that I'm going to be in England playing. There's another trio. For some reason I kind of like I have a lot of bands now without drums, and it's weird because I love drums, you know. But there's another trio with the sax player Rob Hall, who was also on the first trio recording, and the piano player Tobias Weindorf, and he's playing in this trio. He plays only electrical piano, the Wurlitzer. So we're playing 2 concerts in England also with one, and so the fall was quite busy, but I think after that it's also quite back to normal. I'm also here, you know, I'm doing I always have to watch a little bit also for the jazzic record thing. I'm also teaching here in Düsseldorf at the conservatory at the Robert Schumann Hochschule, jazz guitar. So only once a week, but you know, so there's a lot of other stuff here to do, and I'm actually in the process of writing now. I'm definitely want to do a new album with Cartouche, with my trio, and so I'm just putting stuff together for this, and there's some records. There's a duo record coming out with Anna Hartkamp, the singer from Cologne. This duo is called Magnolia. We actually recorded it here in my studio because
beautiful.
because it's just in a duo. It's you know, this is not a big studio. I would always hire a bigger studio, but duo is easy to do, you know, here and so this is coming out also, and then so there's a lot. I'm really happy that everything is going. That I have enough stuff to do, you know, and but for me it was also like always the balance between playing and touring, but also I actually really like the work at the conservatory to teach people with young people, and to you know, give them all the concepts and ideas what I have, and you know, probably yourself, you know, sometimes you have students that they do stuff with it, and then they come back and you get actually much yourself.
Absolutely.
I look at that this way. This guy, I really like this, and it's
absolutely.
Beautiful. So I think the mixtures is
it's important. Yeah. It's important. Fantastic.
And I never, I see now when I remember, like, or when I look back to the tour now that we did in France, it was really good, but I'm not really sure that I could really do, if I would be constantly like
I completely understand you. I'm the same, man. I'm
one
the
two
same.
months on the road. And some people do it, and I know especially Antonio Sanchez. When he was playing with Pat or something. And, I mean, he's constant, and I admire how they do this. But after like 2 weeks of touring, I kind of really like to be here and have a week here. Just with my girlfriend, my kids, my
Yep.
students, and I have enough energy, to go on again. I would miss the other thing too, but
No, but yeah,
if someone can do it like 2 3 months in a row, it's like wow, and you
that's
really
the
get
respect, yeah.
in good shape and really look out for yourself that you can have the energy to hold it up,
That's heavy. My longest one was 17 days in a row.
Yeah.
After 10 days already, I was like, oh, fuck, I was completely gone. I was questioning my playing, my sound, I thought I suck or after gig 10, like everything was the same. And it's like,
Yeah.
but
I mean,
yeah, it's psychological.
that's a tough part. I think it's
Yeah,
really like playing now when we had those 8 concerts, really trying to do something inventive and new every evening, and especially if something in the last night went really well, not to go to try
exactly.
to go in the same direction, because it will never be like this. It
Exactly.
will never work as good as the last time. There's so much into it. I mean, how the band plays, how the audience is, how the sound is. There's so many things that come together, and it's every time it's different.
Exactly.
And I mean, sure, they're on the tour. There were. I mean, the nice thing is, I think, like you're so involved in the music that I think you reach a certain standard, and it will always sound good, but you know yourself, what evenings are more
Exactly.
like this or like
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
But to keep it fresh it's not even with this music where you have like, I mean, at least 60% is improvised or
Improvised, yeah.
solos,
Yeah.
but every evening new, but still to keep that fresh and to find new ways, it is tough, and then
Very tough, yeah. Respect to those guys like Schofield, he still plays like 150 concerts a year, or Pat Metheny, and just to that's insane, Dave Holland, all these guys. It's like, wow,
yeah,
respect.
yes, I mean, it's incredible that they do it, and I think especially the level of playing that you reach when you do this is so great. But
Yeah,
I'm just not really sure whether I could do it that extensively. I think for me it's more like the 1 week and then
yeah, I hear you.
it's,
I'm the same. I'm the same. I appreciate the quality of life too much sometimes.
yeah.
So it's like, but yeah.
It's actually something that I also learned from Brad Wilmot because he was always, he said like, this is all great and we can practice and rehearse and do stuff, but it's also important just to talk and to have a good dinner together, and this is also very inspiring, and then
Oh man,
gives the energy to go on. At least it works for me this way. Also, I like to have those moments too. They're very
to live actually.
I think I would just miss this too much if I'm constantly on the road. I think.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. Cool, Philip. I think we did a nice improv session and ended it nicely here. Like, but man, so nice to hear you talk about these things. Really appreciate it. Finding the time, man.
I'm really happy that you contacted me.
Yeah.
When you have it out, you send me a link or something.
I will send you a link, and we can
I will
then share
post it and then do a little social media
definitely.
stuff and to advertise it a little bit.
Definitely.
And I hope our ways cross live.
Oh man, absolutely.
It would be so cool. And also I will send you because today I have a little gig now in the afternoon with Nico Brandenburg. He used to do the program for the Jazz Schmiede, and I will ask him whether he's still doing it or
please, yeah.
Peter Baumgartner is now in charge of everything. And at least then I can tell him about you, and then that you're gonna tell him that I sent you his email or something. And
I can also for our area. It's like maybe you played in Stockwerk already in Graz. Have you done that?
Yeah, in Graz we play, because I think Lorenz Raab, I think he's teaching there at the conservatory also.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a place that's nice to play. In Maribor, here where I live, there's not really a jazz club anymore, so it's hard to get a gig here. Ljubljana, maybe.
Since I'm playing with Lorenz quite often, I mean, he we have this trio with Franck Tortiller.
Yeah, Franck is amazing. Yeah.
And if you're playing around Graz, and if I know it in advance, I would probably contact you. Maybe you have just a contact there, because then, as you said, it's not far away from them.
Very easily, yeah. Just let me know far in advance, so that people still book ahead when they do. So maybe that's the easiest. Or we just meet for a beer at least. That would be nice. So.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Super.
Hey, thank you so much. It was a pleasure, and then
you too. Yeah.
Good to meet you, and I hope
we see each other, and we get to play or whatever. So.
Cool,
okay, thank you, Philipp.
All right.
Ciao.
Bye-bye. Ciao.